Hi, my name is Josiah, and I'll be your next informative speaker.
Would you like him to come in?
If they want to, yes. Is that ready? I love Charlie Brown because I find him very easy to relate to. Now, at first glance, Charlie Brown doesn't seem like he has much to relate to. For one thing, I'm not legally bald and my dog isn't arch rivals with the Red Baron. In fact, I don't even have a dog. It's an Asian thing. But the reason why I find Charlie Brown relatable is because of his transformations, going from never believing he can fly a kite to becoming an excellent kite flyer. But this got me thinking, why do people's beliefs change? Take this question one step further. Why does our country's culture change? Over the past few years, ideas that have not been accepted in the past, such as critical race theory, climate change, and the LGBTQ movement, are now being condoned and praised. These new ideas, called woke culture, have seemingly come from nowhere. So where did woke ideology come from? While some may say woke ideas is our culture naturally evolving, today I would like to fundamentally challenge what you believe about woke ideas and its origins by telling you that woke ideology did not come naturally. Rather, it was forced upon society by a corporation under the name of BlackRock. Today, I'll be exploring what changes our culture by answering 3 questions. What is BlackRock, how BlackRock affects our culture, and why this is important to me and you. So, what is BlackRock? BlackRock is an asset manager, or basically a large company that owns and manages stocks. It has many expert investors, so it has built itself a reputation of being one of the world's largest and most successful asset managers. Now, on paper, BlackRock doesn't seem very powerful at all, but the reality is quite the opposite. When we think of powerful companies, we might think of companies like Amazon, because it sells anything from necessities to luxuries. It's where we buy our pet food, our electronics, and of course, the Charlie Brown movie. But it turns out Amazon has around $2 trillion worth of money, which is a lot of money. But this begs the question, how much money does BlackRock have? Right now, BlackRock controls not 1, not 2 trillion, but around $9 trillion worth of assets. That's a significant number. But to put this number in perspective, if I were to stand here and give you $1 every single second, you guys will be worth as much as BlackRock in about 240,000 years. BlackRock's money gets even crazier when we compare it to actual countries. If it were to become a country, in terms of assets, it would be the 4th largest country in the world, only surpassed by the United States, China, and Japan. This means that BlackRock will be larger than countries such as the United Kingdom, Canada, and Russia. Undoubtedly, BlackRock has a significant portion of money, but the lingering question now is how? How does BlackRock use this money to bolster woke culture? And this leads me into my second point, which is how BlackRock affects our culture. Now, like I mentioned before, BlackRock is a giant investment company. This means that it isn't like any average investor. In fact, its investments operate on such a wide scale that it is one of the largest investors in every singular major company, even from companies like Starbucks to your local energy supplier. We really can't overemphasize how powerful this company is. Because BlackRock has such significant investments, it is able to have significant influence over these companies to such a great extent that it can even control their decisions. To understand this, we have to look back at 2017, when BlackRock decided to get involved in something called ESG. Now, to put it simply, ESG is not a company or corporation. It's a rating system that acts like a social credit, and it's designed to assess how ethical and good a corporation is. Well, it may seem like BlackRock is doing a great deed by promoting ethics. In reality, BlackRock's ESG policy is not motivated by ethics, rather BlackRock's political agenda. Now, the stated intent behind ESG investment is to act as a force for good on a truly massive scale. But this brings up 2 major questions. Firstly, how does BlackRock force this ESG policy on its companies? But secondly, and more importantly, what is this quote-unquote good that BlackRock is trying to force? Now, to the first, BlackRock can force these companies to adopt ESG policies by holding their investments hostage. To illustrate this point, one day I took my brother's computer and I just ran away. And surprisingly, I was able to get away and hide his computer. I told my brother that if he wanted his computer back, he would have to take the garbage out for me. And because my brother really wanted his computer back, he took the garbage out for me. Now, this example is kind of like BlackRock's relationship to the companies it invests in. How this works is that BlackRock can walk up to these companies and say, hey, we are going to give you as many investments unless you partake in ESG. And because these companies really want BlackRock's investments, they comply and adopt ESG policies. This method has worked so effectively that 95% of large companies are under BlackRock's ESG policy. But this leads us to the second and more important question. What is this quote-unquote good that BlackRock is trying to force? Like I mentioned previously, BlackRock's ESG policy is not motivated by any good, rather BlackRock's political agenda. In fact, the ideals of ESG directly align with the ideals of woke culture, which unfortunately is oftentimes contrary to the Bible's teachings. ESG makes companies do things such as promote diversity over skill, support abortion rights, and support LGBTQ individuals. However, ESG directly aligning with woke culture isn't a coincidence. In fact, government officials say that ESG is the driving force that is molding and conforming our culture to woke ideology. In essence, BlackRock is trying to play the role of God by controlling our culture and thereby controlling our thinking. Since 95% of companies are under ESG, we are being peer pressured into believing woke ideology is true. BlackRock claims that they just want to spread good around this world, but it only wants to indoctrinate us and silence us. But we can take a stand. Have you noticed how a large amount of companies have been pushing for diversity and inclusion? Well, it may seem like these companies have a fundamental belief of woke ideology. That is an illusion. BlackRock wants us to believe to silence us from speaking up. Instead, these companies really are not woke, but have woke policies simply for a higher ESG score. This is shown through a beer company called Bud Light and their advertisements. Bud Light sought to increase inclusion by including a transgender TikToker as the center of their advertisements. Not only this, Bud Light revamped their cans to be pride-themed whilst featuring that TikToker's face on their can. Bud Light never did any of this because they liked transgenderism. In fact, Bud Light later admitted that they did this simply to strive after a higher ESG score. You see, ESG is shoving woke ideology down our throats. But ESG isn't only unique to our beer. In fact, it's the reason why Disney has been pushing for diversity and Starbucks has been pushing for LGBTQ rights. You see, we as Christians are under attack and we must take a stand. Now, at this point in this speech, if you don't believe my speech comes with a grain of truth, my ancestors were rice farmers, so you might be surprised. But if you don't believe my word, don't take my word for it. Take the word of Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida, when he says that he seeks to protect the, quote, Floridians from the woke ESG movement. And this leads me to my third and final point. Why is this important to me and you? In the aftermath of the Bud Light incident, the people stood up and fought for their beliefs. As a result of this backlash, Bud Light lost 30% of its sales. This demonstrates that we, the consumers, ultimately have the power to fight up against these colossal organizations and stand for what is right and stand for what is true. Because of this backlash, Bud Light disengaged their partnership with that transgender TikToker and also apologized for their advertisements. You see, even though BlackRock has trillions upon trillions upon trillions of dollars, we, the consumers, ultimately have the power to fight the nonsense of woke ideology. The question remains, will you take a stand for truth? As Romans 12:2 says, quote, do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, unquote. I know I'm not an economist or a financial advisor. I'm just a kid who likes Charlie Brown. But after learning about ESG, I have realized we have a choice. We can either accept the lie of this world, or we can stand up for truth, stand up for what is right, and make a real positive change. Thank you.